Welcome back, YouTube Axis and Allies Brethren, to the turret in Goldsboro, North Carolina, where we're about to do UK's round 2 turn. This is the anniversary edition, version 1941, between LT and Corporal Panda, and Captain Jack and Private Joe. So for UK's production this turn, we've got 1 transport, 2 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 fighter, and 1 destroyer. There'll be 3 IPCs left over. I believe that's totals 35. They had 38 to spend, so they'll have 3 left over for the next round. All right, so for the 2 combat moves in this round, we've got the bomber coming from the UK, traveling 1, 2, 3 spaces into Berlin. We're using interceptor rules for this game, and Corporal Panda has decided to use his fighter to intercept. So there'll be a one-on-one between the fighter and the bomber, and if the bomber survives, there'll be an AA gun firing at the bomber. And if it survives, we'll have a 6 die roll for the damage. Also, we've got a transport bridging between the UK, bringing 1 infantry and 1 artillery into Northwest Europe. Supporting that attack will be 1 fighter from the UK, and it'll have 2 movements left in its fuel gauge. Also, the bomber will have the bomber that's doing the bombing run will have 3 spaces left in its fuel gauge if it survives. So we'll go do the bombing run now. So first thing, this is the roll for it's a 1-hit attack die. This is the roll for the UK bomber against the German interceptor. And there's a hit. So the interceptor has been destroyed. First roll, my goodness. Okay, so the interceptor gets to fire back. And it is a miss. So now we'll roll the AA gun first. And it's also a black 1-hit die. So here's the AA gun firing at the UK bomber. And it is a miss. All right, so here's the roll for the damage to the factory. This better be big for all I had to do to get there. And after all that, it was a 1 damage. All right, so 1 damage will be placed under the factory in Germany. Northwest Europe, we have 1 infantry and 1 artillery attacking at a 2-roll hit die, and we have a fighter rolling at a 3 hit die. And I failed to mention the battleship bombarding earlier, but that battleship, since we've got some amphibious units, is also going to bombard. So it'll be rolling at a 4-hit die against 1 German infantry unit. So here is the roll for the bombardment. And it is a hit. So the German infantry has been eliminated. Now it will get to roll. It will get to roll as a defense. And here's that roll. And it missed. So we'll take those back to the board. All right, so for the non-combat movements for UK, the fighter that attacked Northwest Europe will land back into the UK, and the bomber that has 3 movements left that bombed Berlin with that big old 1 damage, but it did take a fighter out, so it was a productive turn. Will land back in the UK as well. All right, so panning down here, we've got the 2 infantry in Rhodesia are going to come back to the Union of South Africa. The destroyer in C-Zone 30 is going to move 2 spaces to C-Zone 34. The transport that was in C-Zone 30 is going to move 2 spaces to C-Zone 28. So that's the non-combat moves. So now we're going to place units. We've got 1 fighter going into UK. We have 1 transport going into UK. We have 1 artillery and 2 infantry also going into the UK. So, and then the last unit, the destroyer, is going to come back, is going to take to the seas in C-Zone 28 off the coast of the Union of South Africa. So let's make the adjustment on the IPC board, which we didn't do earlier for Northwest Europe. So the UK is going to go back up 2 to 28. Germany will go down to 30. All right, so the UK will collect 28 this turn. They will receive no bonuses, so that's really hurting them. That defeat in France they took earlier in round one, that devastation bloodbath has cost them and is continuing to cost them, but they're trying to rebound. So anyway, this was a good start. So they've got 28 that they'll be able to spend for next round. So for, oh, I'm sorry, correction, 31. They'll have 31 because they did save 3 from this round. So they got 28 for collection this turn and 3 that roll over from 3 that rolled over. So, all right, so for the unit recap, we have 2 infantry in the UK, 1 tank in the UK, 1 artillery, 2 fighters, and 1 bomber. An industrial complex. There's also 1 American fighter and 1 American bomber. In C-Zone 7, there are 2 destroyers, 2 transports, and 1 battleship. In Northwest Europe, there's 1 infantry and 1 artillery. In South Africa, there's 1 industrial complex and 2 infantry. In C-Zone 28, there's 1 destroyer and 1 transport. In C-Zone 34, there's 1 destroyer. In Alaska, there's 1 infantry. In Australia, there's 3 infantry and 1 artillery. So that concludes the UK turn for round 2. Next up will be Italy, and I believe that's Corporal Panda. So from the turret in Goldsboro, North Carolina, Captain Jack and Private Joe, over and out.